Good afternoon. Good evening, sorry. Good evening. Welcome. I'm Zach Yuson. Welcome to our live special coverage of Typhoon Lawin, or international code name HAIMA. We'll try to bring you the latest updates as Typhoon Lawin approaches land and makes landfall in northern Luzon. But first, let's begin with an update on what's going on the ground. We talked to Police Director Wilfredo Franco of the Community Relations Group of the Philippine National Police. General Franco, are you there?
Yes, Zach, I'm here.
Yes, good evening, sir. Sir, can you tell us what is happening? What is the latest news that you've gotten from your units on the ground po?
Well, in preparation for the landfall of Typhoon Lawin, or HAIMA international name, our all the police units nationwide on the northern part of Luzon have already been alerted and were directed to take the necessary measures to preempt loss of life, particularly assisting the local government unit in evacuation of the people in those areas that are expected to be affected by the typhoon. Apart from that, of course, our primary concern is maintaining law and order. Yun naman ang talagang trabaho nibigay sa amin under the cluster approach by the National Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Committee. So we are putting priority, of course, in making sure that there will be no, shall we say, commission of crimes that affect yung mga citizenry, particularly looting and the likes, or theft, or stealing of property. But of course, in support of the ASP, which is in charge of the rescue and search and rescue to be conducted after the onset of typhoon, we will also be engaged heavily in making sure that we'll be able to respond to the needs of our countrymen. So lahat po ng ating mga police units in regions 1, 2, and 3 are on full alert and have already done, shall we say, early deployment para matiyak na they will be able to respond to whatever emergencies there will be that will be brought about with typhoon.
Well, that's good to know, sir. How many policemen and women are we talking about here dito sa regions nito na nabanggit nyo?
On the average, kasi we are still getting the full report of all those deployed, kasi continuing on deployment depending sa assessment kung saan higit nakakailanganin yung mga tao natin. But as of now, we have registered a total of about 6,000 plus personnel, police personnel, in the 3 regions that have already been deployed earlier.
Yes.
And about the same number on standby to make sure that we will be able to respond to any call for assistance just in case manawagan yung ating mga NDRMC or the local or the regional or provincial disaster and risk reduction management officers.
Yes, sir. And as we know that the police are prepared to respond, but are they also prepared in case they become possible victims of the typhoon, the strong winds? As we know, what happened in Typhoon Haiyan, where several policemen lost their lives because they were in the direct path of the typhoon. Are you prepared this time? Is the police prepared this time for that, sir?
So learning the lesson from, of course, from Yolanda and the other super typhoons, we have adapted the protocols that would ensure that our men are also safe and that they will not be the first to be declared casualties. So as per protocol, as per procedure, hindi naman magdi-deploy yung tao namin kung talagang kasagsagan ng bagyo. We will have to really wait until such time na medyo kumalong ng konti ang ating typhoon before we can even attempt to undertake rescue missions or attempts.
Okay, sir. So, given that, sir, given that the typhoon is expected to make landfall anytime tonight or early tomorrow morning, what should the people know especially after the typhoon passes? What will the police be doing, and what should the people know so that they can respond adequately?
Well, of course, a lot has already been done, based on the reports we received from our police unit. A lot has already been done to preempt or mitigate the possibility of casualties coming out of the typhoon.
Yeah.
One such effort is yung forced evacuation. Marami ng mga local government units assisted by the police have already evacuated yung mga taong bayan na talagang andun sa mga areas na siguradong tatamaan ng bagyo, plus yung mga natatabing ilog, mga natatabing dagat, lahat yan na malapit sa body squatter ay pa-evacuate na pa siguradong hindi sila abutan ng paha o kaya yung mga storm surges na tinatawag natin.
Oo, sir.
And,
how will the police naman, sir, ensure the peace and order is maintained, lalo na pag halimbawa nagkaroon ng brownouts or power outages, sir?
So, as we expect, that we anticipate that there will be power outages. Then right after the typhoon, all our police units would be doing patrolling along areas na tinamaan to make sure that unang-una, kung sakali mang may dapat respondihan na kailangan tulungan. And second, to make sure that yung mga medyo nakaisip, mga masamang loob na nakaisip pang magnakaw, ay hindi makapagnakaw ng property sa mga areas o mga bahay na naapektuhan.
Sir, napapansin niyo ba kung may pagkakaiba ngayong Typhoon Lawin doon sa nakarang mga bagyo, halimbawa ng Typhoon Haiyan, in terms of not only preparation but the attitude of the public and of course of the Philippine National Police? Sorry.
Well, yes, definitely. We certainly have learned our lessons well mula sa Typhoon Haiyan. And one big improvement is yung sabihin natin forced evacuation. So that definitely mitigate and preempt kung anumang mga casualties na maaaring mangyari o lumabas sa mga pagdalo ng typhoon. Second, of course, ang preparation naman ng police. We are better equipped now. Yung mga police units natin ay may mga equipment na posible na gamitin whenever they conduct or do itong mga rescue missions.
Okay, sir. And sir, just a last question. What number or what contact numbers can the people call if they are in an emergency or they need the police assistance? Is there only one number or do they have to call the local police stations?
Yung local police stations natin, they have dedicated phone numbers. We have already distributed, shall we say, published the numbers na yan. They may call the number of this police, then of course the other emergency numbers ay pwede naman matawagan lahat yan.
Okay.
Para sa natin.
Okay, sir.
Para
Sige.
kung kailangan tulong.
Sige po, sir. We hope that, of course, no one gets injured and no one gets hurt. And we wish you all the best po in your preparations for this evening's typhoon. Thank you
Yes,
po.
of course. And we will call on our countrymen to stay safe and let's prepare for the arrival of the typhoon.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. That was Police Director Wilfredo Franco of the Community Relations Group of the Philippine National Police. So again, for those of you who have just joined us, this is Rappler's live special coverage of Typhoon Lawin or Haima. And we are going to be broadcasting for the next hour or so on the status of Typhoon Haima, which is around, I understand it's a super typhoon. And, everyone's been posting online, on social media, what's happening. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, they're posting updates from where they are. So we want everyone to know here who's watching us right now, and of course, those people who are on social media, that you can report the status of the weather in your area and what's going on and how you're preparing for Typhoon Lawin using the Agos alert map. It's agos.rappler.com. And of course, using social media, you can tweet and post on Facebook. And here to join us today is social media producer Margie De Leon. Margie De Leon.
Hi, good
Hi,
evening, Zach.
Margie. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know whether to use your full name or your short
it's
name.
okay, Margie's fine.
So Margie, please run us through what's going on now on social media and how people can report using Agos.
Okay, well, first off, it's a good thing that hashtag LAWINPH, which is the official hashtag for this super typhoon, is the top Philippine trend on Twitter.
Yeah,
So,
we can see that now.
yeah, so that means that
That's a good thing,
everybody is,
right?
Yeah, coordinated.
Okay.
Yeah, so there isn't any confusion about that.
Yeah.
This also means that if you check the Twitter feed for hashtag LAWINPH, it's going a mile a minute.
Let's check that out right now.
Yeah, let's look at that. It's refreshing every second.
Okay.
And for the most part, people are talking about how they're greeting each other, telling each other to stay safe,
Yeah.
sharing prayers. And a lot of them are also very shocked that the super typhoon has reached signal number 5 status.
Okay, yeah. So this is like one of the few times that we reached signal number 5. I think
Yeah.
the first time was in Typhoon Haiyan.
Yes.
Yes.
So they're very, very concerned about that. But other than just like greeting each other
Yeah.
for safety, you can actually do more
Okay.
using Agos through your own Twitter account. You can compose a tweet, for example, if there's a flood in your area, use hashtag floodph. Or if you need rescuing, hashtag rescueph. Or if you need relief goods, hashtag reliefph.
So Margie, why is it important that we need to use these hashtags?
So we have to make sure that the right agencies are able to get to the right people. Because, for example, if you need rescuing but you just say flood PH,
Yeah.
The wrong people who might not have the correct equipment
Yeah.
might not be able to help.
So
you out.
people are actually monitoring these hashtags and they're
Yes.
responding appropriately. So for example, you're
Yes.
saying floods, people know where to avoid floods,
Yes.
right? I see.
Exactly.
Okay.
For example, if there's a flood, but you don't necessarily need rescuing, so that might like waste somebody's time,
Right,
for example.
right, yeah.
So you can tweet that, and then make sure that the location services on your phone are turned on, so people know exactly where you are. And if you're able to take a photo and provide additional information, do that. And Agos
Yeah.
will be able to help you out by contacting the correct government agency.
So for the information of our audience, Agos is not just a Twitter-based platform. You can actually report it on the website itself. And on Facebook, we have our volunteers who are with us today in our studio and online who are actually monitoring and mapping the reports for us. But I have to ask you, Margie, as someone who's been covering disasters for a good number of years, who's experienced disasters firsthand,
Yeah.
what usually happens, before a typhoon or before any disaster strikes? What happens on social media? So people are
social media?
people are reporting that they're a bit afraid. What's going on?
They're afraid, they're sharing prayers.
Yeah.
And one tricky thing about social media is they might share misinformation.
Yes, can you talk about that?
For example, some people might say that there are no classes in a particular area, but they didn't confirm with DepEd or
Okay.
the other or your local government agency whether that's true or not. And suddenly this misinformation has spread because everything on social media spreads like wildfire.
And it happened before several
Yes,
times,
of
right?
course. So if you see a tweet that affects you, like suspension of classes or work, always make sure to check official accounts.
Yeah.
Like for example, DepEd_PH, so that you are not like what do you call this? Spreading the wrong information.
Now, I'll ask you the same question that I asked General Franco. Have you seen any changes in how we've been using social media? And not even like Typhoon Yan, flashback to Ondoy. Like, have you noticed anything that different in the way we're using social media for disasters?
I think people are more like, they're more active in reporting about what's happening.
Okay.
Like, instead of just like complaining or just like making observations, they're actually using their platforms to ask for help or to inform their loved ones that they're safe. So it's more action-oriented now, and that's a really good thing. And like the fact that, for example, hashtag LAWINPH is the top trending tweet means that people are really like working together
Okay.
to help each other out, even with just one tweet.
So maybe it's the one time that we can all unite under one tweet.
Yeah.
Or one hashtag, right?
That is true.
Okay. Now, when we go, when the typhoon, comes closer to land, and we now hear reports of maybe floods and heavy rain, what's going to happen within the next few hours? I mean, if you can just walk us through, so that the people who are watching now, the public who might not be familiar with what happens on social media, walk us through in terms of what are the tweets that we're expecting, what are the posts on Facebook that we're going to monitor and look out for.
Well, we should make first like safety.
Yeah.
I suppose like
That they're
announcements
safe.
of
Yeah,
safety
okay.
are important, and announcements of like impending floods.
Okay.
Because of the water levels rising, people might be observing that, hey, this might happen.
Okay.
So it's better to stop the accidents before they actually like go full force.
Yeah.
So it's best to like what do you call this? Inform what's currently happening, even if it's not even if it's not like a full disaster mode just yet. Like it's better to what do you call this? Preempt
Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think it's crucial also to mention that they can actually get really good information using social media, because people will be reporting like if they're affected by the
Yeah.
typhoon, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to monitor, especially for the disaster managers and the disaster responders, what's going on, because I think we've noticed before that everyone just puts everything on social media, but it's kind of messy,
Yeah.
right? So like you said, it's getting a bit more organized and more orderly. I hope, you think we're there yet in terms of like the ideal state of how we use social media when
I
it
think
comes
we're
to
still a
disasters?
little on the messy side.
Okay,
But
okay.
at least people are more aware that, hey, if I'm in trouble,
Yeah.
there is the possibility that I can tweet like the local government unit.
Okay.
Before that really wasn't a thing.
Right.
Right.
So that's direct communication and
Yes.
connection.
Yes.
Okay, great. So since we're mentioning about using social media and putting order into chaos, let's show the Agos alert map right now. So let me just reload this. The Agos alert map, again, it's on agos.rappler.com, is a map that actually gathers all and visualizes all of the tweets and social media posts that are coming in. Our volunteers are monitoring it. And you can see it here, we have a map of the Philippines. I'm zoomed in, and I've actually layered on the Project NOAA storm surge layer. And in this layer, you can actually see the projections for storm surges if a category 3 or 4 or even 5 typhoon were to hit this area. This area is actually in the northern tip of Luzon. This is near San Vicente in Cagayan. And I want to show you Isabela. I'll just zoom out a bit. Here, this is the northern tip. If you go down to Isabela on the right side, you can also see according to Project NOAA, the red areas are storm surge prone areas where storm surges can reach up to 1.5 meters. So this is the highly, I would say, highly dangerous side or area in the coast, because the storm surges can go as high as 1.5 meters. Although Pag-asa and Project NOAA have said that storm surges can reach as high as 5 meters in some areas. So if this is only showing 1.5 meters, I think the public should be well aware to stay away from any of these areas and seek higher land, especially if you live near the coast, because 5 meters is pretty high. That would probably be almost near the level of a tsunami. So these are areas that, by the way, are actually populated. So these aren't remote areas, these are very populated areas along the coast in northern Luzon. And on the right, as you can see, people have been sending in their tweets or posting online on Twitter and Facebook, and we are gathering all of these tweets, and we can show them if you have your, as what Margie said, if you have your geolocation turned on and your precise location turned on, and if you take a picture and tweet with hashtag LAWINPH, it will actually come out on the Agos map. Now, if you post on Facebook, just use hashtag LAWINPH and make sure your post is public so that our volunteers can map that post and put it on the Agos map. And why do we need to map that post? I mean, what's the point, Margie? What do you think,
Well,
we get out of this?
The more information we have about what people are doing right now during the storm and after
Right.
is very important, because We need to know who needs help the most, and which places are safe. The information matters because that's how you jump off from into action.
Yes. Now, we actually have been doing this for several typhoons and several cycles. And what we found really helpful when it comes to mapping social media is that we need to get volunteers all the time, because you cannot do this alone. There's no one computer or one agency that can do this. So it's a team effort. And so we're making a call out today for all of you, those who are online, who are watching this right now. If you have time, and you have the internet, if you have an internet connection, obviously you're watching this, so you do. You can actually volunteer right now online. You don't have to come to the Rappler office. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just stay at home and help us monitor social media posts, or help us track what's happening right now all over northern Luzon, where we expect the typhoon will hit hardest. If you'd like to actually volunteer physically, of course, you can register and sign up and volunteer here today. We're going to be here the whole night until tomorrow. You can send an email to move.ph@rappler.com. Now, the DSWD, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, also needs your help. They're looking for volunteers to help repack relief goods, that includes rice and canned goods, at their National Operations Relief Operations Center. I think this is in Pasay. And we've included, you can see the link up here now. You can sign up to be a DSWD volunteer, or if you want to just send us an email, move.ph@rappler.com, to volunteer for Agos Ibayanihan. Okay, now we'd like to go to Michael Williams. He is the administrator of a very popular Facebook group called the Pacific Typhoon Season. And they're a Facebook group with over 20,000 members. And Michael Williams is he's a broadcaster or a radio commentator by profession, but he's also a very keen amateur meteorologist. So, Michael, are you there?
I am here.
Yes, hi, Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Michael, so tell us a bit about the Pacific Typhoon Season Facebook group first.
Well, we started back in 2014, actually, as a response to lack of information on Facebook. Well, credible information, I should state. The page was started by Mr. Will Weaver, and it ran along for a little while, and in July of 2014, that's when I arrived back in the Philippines from Hawaii. And at that time, I started taking over administration duties, and we kind of streamlined some things and started making sure that the information was much more reliable and accurate. For one thing, making sure that we put official information from the three main sources here that affect residents here in the Philippines and in other parts of the Western Pacific. And it has really taken off, man. It really has.
Yeah.
We just added our 21,000 member yesterday.
Okay, I'm a member of the group, and I get a lot of information from the group. And I know that most of you are either amateur meteorologists or enthusiasts, but you guys have pretty accurate information. Can you tell us right now, what's the status of Typhoon Lawin?
Well, I can tell you, I just checked out the SIMS site. This is a site online that is actually used by many of the services. And at around 6 p.m., they put the position at 17.1 north, 123.6 east, and that's about 135 kilometers east of Palanan, Isabela. And it's moving west-northwest at about 25 kilometers per hour, and that's going to put landfall right about midnight, somewhere near Palanan Bay.
Okay, all right. And what's the speed or the current strength of the typhoon?
Well, now see, we monitor three main agencies for that information. We monitor JTWC, and they show the current intensity at 135 knots with gusting winds up to 165. The 135 are sustained winds, and that's 250 to 305 kilometers per hour, to break that down into kilometers per hour. That's a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane strength scale. Now, we don't really use Saffir-Simpson here, but JTWC does for their purposes. JMA has a storm strength at 115 knots of sustained winds with gusts to 165 knots. That's a range of 213 to 305 kilometers per hour. Now, they have a different scaling system, and they just simply refer to this as a violent typhoon. That's at the top of their list. And then finally, Pagasa here locally, last update that I got was 225 kilometers per hour sustained winds with gusts to 315 kilometers per hour. And that is super typhoon status, which is, I believe, the first time that they've declared one that since they made their changes in 2015 on their scale.
Yeah, I think that's causing a bit of, I wouldn't say confusion, but certainly concern. People have been comparing this typhoon to Typhoon Haiyan and asking whether this typhoon will, bring us much devastation and destruction. I don't know if you're the person to give the assessment, but what do you think about that?
Well, it will not reach Haiyan status. Haiyan was really kind of a once-in-a-lifetime kind of storm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you're talking about the most powerful storms in the Western Pacific, you start with Typhoon Tit, which was back in 1979, which set the Western Pacific record for lowest barometric pressure and the highest winds recorded.
Okay.
As a note, back in 1979, the National Weather Service out of Guam used to fly reconnaissance flights. So this was an actual measured wind speed and barometric pressure. Haiyan was estimated, but still it reached such levels with the new diagnostic tools that are available now that it was rated pretty close to that.
Okay.
This storm here, Haima, is not nearly what Haiyan was, and the good news is the latest information I have also from SIMS is that Haima is weakening right before landfall.
I see. Okay, and that means that by the time it hits maybe a populated area like Tuguegarao, what does that impact? What will the impact be for people in these areas?
Well, right now, given the information I have, it's still a very strong Category 4 storm on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It will probably retain that strength. Going into Tuguegarao, you only have a small mountain range there before then you hit the bigger Sierra on the western side. So it'll maintain most of that strength, and probably Tuguegarao will see a Category 4 system or one in that strength. Once the storm gets over the Sierra Madre, though, and into the mountainous regions, it's really going to encounter some serious topographical issues. The mountains are just not good for tropical systems. Land itself is not good for tropical systems because it cuts off their fuel supply. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's been kind of a concern of ours because the original forecast had the storm passing much further north, up near Apari. And when the storms go through there, they have very little weakening trend, and their reach is also much less in terms of getting down into the major Metro Manila area and things. But this storm got pushed down a bit by what's called the subtropical ridge, and so it's coming in a little bit further south than what we had anticipated at first. And the very fact that it's going to go over the mountainous terrain that it's going over, and we have to factor in one other thing, and that is that there is some wind shear, what we call vertical wind shear.
Okay.
And wind shear is not healthy for storms. Wind shear will shear the tops off of the thunderstorms and will weaken the systems no matter how strong they are. And it's encountering the wind shear as well. So it's been my concern that as this storm encounters this strong wind shear that's over the island of Luzon and over the mountainous terrain, and the storm also hits the mountainous terrain, what happens is the circulation centers become discombobulated and really just kind of fall apart in some ways. And what you get is you get kind of a scattering of what we call vorticity, little spins all around in different directions, and the system will actually expand a little bit as this happens. Well, that's a good thing in terms of weakening the storm, but it's not so good for areas to the south who were not really expecting rain. And it's been kind of a thought of ours for the last 2 or 3 hours, as we've talked about it in the group, that perhaps areas to the south of central Luzon, which these areas were actually expecting rain anyway, but now we may talk about areas like Laguna and the NCR, Cavite, and these areas that may actually get more rain than they were expecting from this storm in the beginning. The good news is it will probably only be rain, maybe some gusty winds and some of the stormier squalls. We're not expecting a pronounced habagat event. It just hasn't been forecast. But these things change by the minute. They really do change by the minute. But as I said, the good news is, based on the latest data from what's known as the advanced Dvorak technique, the system is actually weakening, and it can continue to weaken. Then that's good news for those people on the coast who are really facing a really dangerous situation right now.
Right, right. And I'm just curious why you guys are so interested in watching the weather, and what do you hope to share when you share this information online?
Well, you know, the story for me goes back a long way, and I'm kind of old, so I won't take you through the entire thing. But basically, when I was a 6-year-old child, I stopped a second grade class to tell them it was going to rain outside. And ever since then, I've known two things. I've known I'm going to love weather all my life, and I know I'm going to communicate with people all my life. So that's my story. Everyone has their own story. For many, it was just, you know, just the wonder of the nature of it all. For others, they had an experience where it woke them up to the power of the nature of things. And so they became inspired to learn and follow and try to understand these systems. I think that's the one thing that we all have in common, is that we all seek to understand what makes it happen. And it's so complicated. It's so very complicated that it takes a long time. I mean, I've been studying these storms now on my own for 45 years, and I still don't know everything about them, but I know enough to where I can make a few judgments here and there.
Great. Thank you for watching out and keeping an eye out for us, and of course educating the public. I think it's really helpful. That's Michael Williams. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And now we'd like to go to USEC Ricardo Halad, the Executive Director of the Office of Civil Defense. Sir, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Zach Yuson po from Rappler. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. Sir, can you give us the latest po in terms of the preparations and the potential response of the government for Typhoon Lawin?
Well, we are now on the monitoring phase. We have done all the coordination that we've started since the other day, way back when we monitored this typhoon outside of the Philippine area of responsibility. And so we are now monitoring the situation as we await for the landfall of Typhoon Haima or Lawin.
Sir, sa tingin niyo po ba ready na po yung mga agencies and local government units, or there's still more preparation to be done in the next few hours?
Well, we have done all the coordination. We have directed all agencies to reposition assets, especially those responding just agencies like the AFP, the PNP, and DPWH. They already have prepositioned responders. We've also activated our rapid emergency telecom teams in the different regions that are likely to be affected. And we equipped with AC radios of the AFP and PHF of the PNP, as well as some satellite phones.
Oo, sir. Sir, ano po yung chief concern po natin yun? Yung storm surge po ba, o yung bilis ng hangin at yung ulan, yung flooding?
Number one is, yun nga, yung lakas ng hangin. This is a super typhoon. Right now at 225 kilometers per hour. Kaya ang ating pag-iusap dyan sa ating mga kababayan na naninirahan sa mga medyo mahinahinang klaseng bahay, mag-evacuate na doon sa lumikas, doon sa safe na lugar. And there is also the danger of storm surge doon sa mga areas nasa shorelines, and we have identified these areas as yung northern tip of Cagayan, as well as yung western side of Luzon, yan sa Ilocos Norte, and even Ilocos Sur.
Nagkaroon na po ng evacuation sa areas na po ito?
As of kaninang umaga, meron na mga evacuation na ginagawa. May coordination tayo doon sa mga LGUs through the DILG, and may feedback na may preemptive and even forced evacuations na ginawa.
So sumusunod naman po, sir, yung public doon sa utos ng local government at authorities?
Well, may mga sumusunod, may reklamo nga na may mga hindi sumusunod, kaya nagpapatulong sa ating PNP para ma-enforce yung kautusan na yun.
Sir,
at,
may go ahead, sir.
Yeah. At isa pang binabatayin din natin, yung dahil in-expect natin malakas yung pagulan, yung landslide na may dudulot ito, dahil binasa na tayo ng Karen last week. And lalo pa tayong babasahin, may maaaring magkakaroon ng landslide. So, kailangan yung ating mga kababayan na nandun sa mga danger areas, magsiligas din, para maiwasan yung mga kapahamakan.
Sir, dahil gabi po darating or magla-landfall yung typhoon, meron bang heightened risk factor dahil baka yung iba ay tulog, hindi po handa or hindi aware kung may possible landslide man yun or flooding. Is there a
Paano yun?
concern? Yung, sir, yung dahil gabi po darating yung typhoon at magla-landfall yung typhoon, medyo mataas po ba yung risk natin kaysa sa, for example, kung umaga po siya dumating?
Oo, kasi kung magpapabaya tayo, meron makatulog, hindi nila alam, parating na yung bagyo at kung hindi pa silang silikas, mahirap yan, ano?
Oo, nga, sir.
Kaysa, at saka kapag kagabi, hindi natin nakikita sa dilim, mawawala yung kuryente, so maaaring may mga nagliliparan dyan na hindi natin nakikita, matatamaan ito at mga at babayan. So mas risky itong pagdating ng bagyo dahil madilim.
Oo. Sir, ano pang areas na walang power as of now? Would you know, sir?
Merong information sa akin dito sa Tuguegarao, wala ng kuryente.
So, Tuguegarao pa lang, sir. Okay. I guess that's
Yun pa lang pumasok na information sa akin.
Sir, ano po yung yung parang number one directive po sa mga regional DRRMs, PDRMCs, and of course the local city and municipal disaster risk managers. What is your instructions to them? And siguro you can say this here so anyone, the public can also understand po what they're supposed to be doing.
Nung nagsimula tayo mag-prepare nito, pinapa-coordinate natin sa OCD regional directors natin doon sa mga ibang ahensya yung preparasyon, kung preparasyon ng mga dapat nilang preposition, preparasyon sa mga responders at yung information dissemination naman doon sa mga LGUs, local disaster risk reduction management officers, yung kanila namang preparasyon. Sila talaga yung kasama ng mga kababayan natin. Sila yung magiging first responders. Ang problema lang sa lakas ng bagyo na ito, yung ating mga first responders, lalo na doon sa direktang tatamaan ng bagyo ay maaaring hindi makapag-respond. Kaya nga, ang pinakamaganda talaga rito ay magsilikas doon sa ligtas na lugar. Hayaan na natin masira kung ano man yung masisirain dahil madali lang naman natin ibalik yan. Pero yung buhay ay hindi napapalitan.
Oo nga, sir. Sir, nung sa Typhoon Yolanda, nagkaroon ng problema with communications. I think nag-down yung communication lines and it took a few hours or I think days before na-restore pa yun. What are the preparations po that OCD and the National Disaster Reduction Management Council is doing now to ensure that the communication lines will remain up?
Yung activation ng Rapid Emergency Telecom Teams, yung pagkandak natin ng ICT bayanihan. So, yan, humihingi tayo ng tulong ng iba't ibang mga volunteer groups na mayroong communication capabilities. Sinasama natin yan doon sa ating Rapid Emergency Telecom Teams. So, hindi lang radio ito ng AFP, radio ng PNP at saka iba pang communication equipment ng OCD, kundi meron ding communication equipment ng mga volunteer groups. In fact, dyan sa Cagayan, meron silang tinatawag na Group 48. Nakadeploy na ho yung Group 48 na yan with communication equipment.
I see, sir. And of course, I'm assuming... correct me if I'm wrong, sir, that the government is also monitoring social media for people who are reporting online?
Yun nga, pag mawala ng kuryente, mawawala na rin ng access sa internet yung ating mga kababayan doon sa lugar na maaaring tamaan. Sa ngayon, yung ibang lugar wala na rin kuryente. At pag dahil ang bagyo ay in-expect natin baka masira din yung services, down yung services ng telcos. So, ang maganda talaga rito, we go back to some basics, that is the use of radios, and at saka mag-upgrade tayo doon sa acquisition ng satellite phones. Although satellite phones, meron din limitation yan kapag makapal yung cloud cover ay limited din yung capability niya. But we will use whatever we can. Kaya nga mayroon tayong mga hinihikayat ng mga volunteer groups na tumutulong sa atin.
Yes, sir. Of course, Agos is also here to support the NDRMMC and to provide information po when we get it. Sir, just last question. No? What's your message, siguro, to the public now that the typhoon will make landfall anytime tonight or tomorrow early morning? What should the public know po and do at this point?
Well, unang-una, habang may panahon pa, ay magsilikas tayo. Kami naman po dito sa National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council ay nagpaplano kami yung next move namin bukas kapag meron ng opportunity na magpadala tayo ng tulong galing dito sa Metro Manila ay gagawin ho natin. Sana ay makapag-establish kaagad tayo ng communication dyan para malaman natin ang sitwasyon dyan sa lugar na sasalantayan dyan sa Isabela, Cagayan, Apayao, Ilocos Norte at saka iba pang probinsya like Abra, Kalinga, Nueva Vizcaya. No? So nakakalat ho yung ating regional offices and their respective rapid emergency telecom teams at asahan natin sila magbibigay sa atin ng immediate information kung ano ang sitwasyon sa ground at meron na ho kaming pinaplano din na tulong na manggagaling dito sa Metro Manila. We are going to utilize itong mga air assets ng Philippine Air Force. We are forming teams that will be sent to these areas.
Okay, sir. Let's hope for the best and good luck po to you and your team for the coming hours po.
Maraming salamat. Magandang gabi po.
Maraming salamat po, sir. That was Yusek Ricardo Halad, the Executive Director of the Office of Civil Defense. He's in charge, he's the man in charge, or you can say the man of the hour, as the country prepares for Typhoon Lawin. Now, I'd like to just show you briefly what's at stake, or who's affected by the typhoon. If I can pull up my screen. This is the latest update from the UN OCHA, or the Office of the Coordinator for Humanitarian Affairs. And in this map, or in this infographic, you can see that for the provinces, the 13 provinces that are expected to be affected by Typhoon Lawin, we see about 5 million people living in this area. That's 1,045,000 households. And many of these people are from, you can say, are poor, or from the poorest communities. Now, 175,000 are PP Pantawid Pamilya beneficiaries. Now, what we see here in this map is that whenever there is a typhoon, or whenever there's a severe or strong typhoon like Typhoon Lawin or Haima, there are a lot of infrastructure, buildings, roads, bridges that are potentially in the way and that could get damaged. And if these buildings and schools get damaged, then that of course means a disruption in daily life. Of course, people need schools to learn, the children need schools to learn, and these schools are often used as evacuation centers. So we can see the numbers here. We'll show this map and we'll put it up on Rappler. This is from UN OCHA. This gives us a good idea of what's going to happen, or what's at stake when Typhoon Haima comes up. Now, we'd like to go on to the head of Project NOAA, DOST Project NOAA, Dr. MAHAR LAGMAY. Sir, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, hi MAHAR. This is Zach Yuson of Rappler. This is probably the 15th, 20th time you've been briefing everyone about what's happening, but please indulge us and give us a briefing of what to expect for Typhoon Haima.
Okay. Typhoon Lawin is about to make landfall, I think, later tonight or early morning, somewhere between 11 to 2 o'clock, very early in the morning. And easy, taking the latest of Pag-asa, 225 kilometers per hour, gusting at more than 300 kilometers per hour. And Pag-asa already raised number 5 in certain provinces, like in Isabela, Cagayan, Abra, Ilocos Norte, and that means that it's a very strong typhoon. In fact, it's considered a super typhoon. But the signal numbers that are given by Pag-asa, which has been raised already to signal number 5, are based on the strength of the wind of Typhoon Lawin. That's not the only hazard associated with the storm or with the typhoon, with the super typhoon. There are other hazards For example, storm surges. If there are heavy rain that will happen, that will generate floods and trigger landslides. The typhoon is 800 kilometers in diameter, just to give you an idea on the scale of the typhoon, or the size of the typhoon. From Aparito to Hulo, which is the entire length of the Philippines, roughly about 1,400 to 1,500 kilometers. So it's basically half the length of the Philippines.
Yeah.
That means that the hazards for rain as well as landslides are not confined near to the eye of the typhoon.
Okay.
There are areas that have been planned already in NDRC during the discussions in the pre-disaster risk assessment of various agencies involved in preparedness as well as response. And all of those areas are mainly in the northern part of Luzon, particularly the areas of the Cordillera and the Sierra Madre, North Luzon.
So you're saying, sir, that even areas that are not in the direct path could potentially be affected by rains?
That's how we should treat the hazards associated with cyclone.
Right.
Because the signal number is directly related to its nearness to the eye of the typhoon.
Yes.
But sometimes the rain can be enhanced in areas outside of the area near the eye of the typhoon. And that means that if we are to address the problem of hazard associated with the track of a certain cyclone, that means we have to prepare and we have to be able to simulate or model or forecast those areas that are far from the eye.
Yeah.
And that can be done through model simulations. And it must be complemented as well by near real-time data. We have sensors all over the Philippines that record rainfall. If we are able to use them to complement the forecast data, which give us warnings days in advance, these near real-time sensors that can be used to complement the forecast can still give us advance warning. It is just a couple of hours advance warning, but nonetheless, they are very valuable because it provides us with information that could inform municipalities that are in danger or under threat or imminent flood hazard.
Yes.
And that advance warning can be used to evacuate people in time to get them out of harm's way.
Yeah, we've certainly come a long way, I think, in terms of prediction and forecast, where you're saying that, within a few hours you can actually determine what's going to happen, right? You've narrowed the gap.
That is right. Complementary to the days in advance forecast, where we can prepare for the incoming rains and threats of landslides.
Yeah.
We have the near real-time information that can be used to see when the hazard is going to happen hours in advance.
So
we need that kind of information to get people out of harm's way.
Exactly. But do you see any significant changes in the track or in the areas at least that will be affected at the most?
In all tracks, there's this uncertainty, and that is displayed in all of the tracks made by different meteorological agencies, including our very own meteorological agency, which is PAG-ASA. And the call of the government is to follow the official track, which is the one that is provided by our Weather Bureau.
Yes.
So there's this uncertainty, and the track can move anywhere within the ranges of those uncertainty areas. So the uncertainty is more with more days in advance of the current situation, and there's more certainty when it is nearer to the current time.
Let's talk briefly about storm surges. We have actually Project NOAA data right now on our Agos map, and we're showing the storm surge, I think, layer. Can you tell us whether these, there's some reports saying that storm surges could go as high as 5 meters. What's your concern here, and what should the public be aware of?
That's the forecast made by PAGASA, because they raised signal number 5.
Yeah.
Storm surges are related to the strength of the winds.
Yes.
That means that nearer to the eye, the probability of storm surges happening is greater. PAGASA says that it's about 5 meters. Our model simulations put it at anywhere between 2 to 3 meters.
Okay.
But what is very important is to be able to use a certain warning given by a government agency on how high the storm surges would be, but not just that absolute value of 5 meters, because 5 meters is an absolute value given over a relative landscape.
I see.
And that means that not everywhere 5 meters would translate to the same threat or hazard for inundation due to storm surges, because the landscape is different for different places in coastal areas of the country. What is important is that if you are given a height value, you should look at a map so that you would know how far away from the coastal area, from the beach, you should go. During Yolanda, Tacloban had storm surge inundation up to 3.5 kilometers inland. That is because it's flat or nearly flat. And that caused a lot of damage and caused a lot of deaths. So now that we have Typhoon Lawin passing in the northern part of the country, and we know that the typhoon is very strong, it's a super typhoon, we know that it is related to the generation of storm surges, and we can predict, we can model how high the storm surges could be.
Yeah.
But that value should be viewed in terms of storm surge hazard maps, so that the appropriate action of people in the community can be made.
And do you think in this case, compared to Yolanda, that geography is in our favor because of it has to pass through the Sierra Madre, and it might weaken because of that?
Most typhoons, when they barrel through mountains, decelerate its wind strength. The wind strength decelerates or slows down. But the strength of the typhoon, even if it barrels through a mountain or passes through a high elevation, will decelerate, but still the strength of the winds are strong enough to generate storm surges.
I see. How about inland, like places like Tuguegarao, which are densely populated? How will they experience typhoon?
In terms of what hazard, are you talking about the wind?
Maybe the wind. The wind.
Storm surges,
the wind, yes, the wind.
Landslides or the flood?
The wind and possible landslides.
Yeah, I think Tuguegarao is one of those areas that are going to be affected by strong winds. And if there are strong rains in the mountains, then we know that the rains that fall in these mountainous areas will have to accumulate along creeks. They will enter into the stream network and to the larger rivers, eventually leading to the sea. So there is a river system that comes from the mountains, goes to Cagayan Valley, and goes to exit near the northern coastline of the Philippines. And Tuguegarao is in one of those places in the low-lying communities. So that means that they are also under threat of floods.
Right.
Because we know that heavy rains are expected to happen in the mountains of the Cordilleras and the Sierra Madre.
So, Dr. Mahar, I'm sure you won't be sleeping tonight. What will you be watching out for, and what should we be on alert for, for the next few hours at least?
My advice is to know the hazards in your neighborhood before the storm before the cyclone makes landfall.
Okay.
Preparedness is always key to avoiding disasters.
Right.
And even though government is able to give the warnings, the typhoon forecast, areas that are likely to be flooded, areas that are likely to experience landslides, that warning must be matched by appropriate action. No amount of warning will be effective if it does not translate to appropriate action. The appropriate action would have to come from the local government units, the people in the communities, the families, as well as the individuals in a certain place. So it's everybody's concern, it's everybody's responsibility. The responsibility of disaster prevention and mitigation is not just the responsibility of government, it's everyone's responsibility.
Well, thank you nonetheless for warning us and giving us the data that will help us prepare. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we can get in touch with you later on tonight for updates.
Thank you very much, too.
Okay, thank you. That was Dr. MAHAR LAGMAY, the Executive Director of TOST Project NOAA. Let me just recap briefly before we turn to social media. We've been talking to government agencies, weather enthusiasts, and of course, people who have been studying weather phenomena for so many years. And as we can tell you that, of course, this is a very strong or super typhoon, probably unprecedented for, again, this is only the second time that Pag-asa has declared a typhoon signal number 5, which was newly created after typhoon or during Typhoon Yolanda. And we're packing there, it's going to be packing winds of around at least 220 kilometers and above, which also significantly increases the risk for storm surges in low-lying coastal communities. And as USEC Ricardo Halad told us earlier, there are certain areas that are already feeling or experiencing rains. There's already a power outage reported in Tuguegarao. And we already know that there are floods in certain areas, in certain roads going to Cagayan and Isabela. So that's the update. We expect the typhoon to make landfall, according to Dr. MAHAR, anytime from between 11 p.m. to probably 2 a.m. in the morning. Which means that, but it doesn't mean that just because it makes landfall, that's when the typhoon is strongest. Of course, the typhoon is around 800 kilometers wide, so that means that the first part of the typhoon could really significantly make an impact within the next few hours. That means everyone should be on board, keeping alert and watching social media, watching media, getting the latest updates. If you're not from the area, you can still get the latest updates and maybe warn your relatives and friends in the area to keep safe, especially for those living in landslide and flood-prone areas. So let's turn to social media now, and again we're joined by Margie De Leon. Are there any latest updates? Anything that you've seen so far? Maybe more prayers, different gods? I don't know.
Same God, it seems, same
Okay.
Catholic God. But in the 30 minutes that you've been talking with our various guests, interestingly enough, hashtag LAWINPH has dropped to second place in
So
the
maybe we
in Twitter trending.
took away their interest in Lawin.
Yeah, and what's on top now is hashtag Kathniel Push Awards 2016.
Okay.
And no offense to any Kathniel fans out there, but it might be more important to tweet about what's happening in your area, whether you're safe or whether there are any hazards, like Dr. MAHAR said, and use the hashtag LAWINPH instead. There also has been, as we've discussed earlier, a little bit of confusion over which areas do have classes or not. So make sure that your sources are legitimate. Not just because you saw something from your classmate or from your workmate doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So
We just happen to have a page on Rappler that tells you what areas, what classes are suspended tomorrow.
Yes, we have our Walang Pasok page, and you can access that through rappler.com/LAWINPH.
Okay. So, can you tell us anything else? Any tweets in particular that struck you?
Since the last time we've talked, nothing too different.
Okay.
Yeah, so mostly people just like hoping for the best.
Well, I predict that's about to change in the next few hours or so.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the better. Okay, joining us on the line is Director Felino Castro of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. He's the man in charge when it comes to disaster preparedness and response. Director Castro, are you there?
Yes, Zach, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you're very busy, so I'd like to keep this short, but please tell us what's the latest from your end. How is the department preparing for the coming typhoon?
Okay, Zach, no, as we mentioned earlier, we are now at the Advanced Preparedness Action Planning. So we have done our minimum preparedness actions. We have made our prepositions already in the affected areas. We have the entire response clusters, no, monitoring the activities, monitoring the situation, and we are now holding a meeting right now, no, at the NDRIMC, planning for contingencies just in case there will be additional requirements or needs.
What's the topmost concern, sir, for the response cluster at this point? No? Any specific areas or communities that might be more affected than others?
Well, yes. In fact, the subject of our planning now is really a contingency plan for resupplying the affected areas. No? We all know the typhoon is quite big. It started from a 600 diameter, now it's up to 800. It's signal number 5 already. So most likely the predictions will be the main routes going to the north will be affected. We are doing a contingency plan to fly in, no, after the typhoon has passed, planning for supply relief to the affected areas.
And sir,
In fact,
go ahead.
we are also consolidating the updates coming from the 11 clusters.
Yeah.
And we have made it public. For your information, you can access what's happening in the response clusters at the disaster response situational map. No? It's at disaster.dsupdate.gov.ph.
Sir, how would you assess po yung preparations ng mga local government units? Because as you know, diba, disaster response is local and it will take time for the national government to send relief or help in case there's a massive disaster, devastation. So how would you assess po what the local governments have been doing in these areas?
Yes, I think given the reports of the prepositioning, the preparedness levels of a local government units, the warnings have been given early, so they were able to prepare early. So the response teams are in place. They are monitoring the situation. I think it's an improvement of the level of preparedness of our LGUs.
What about, sir, the remote communities, lalo na sa Isabela, yung mga hindi ma-access ng direct road connections like Dinapige and Palanan? How will the government be able to reach them in time?
Yes, in fact, that's the object of our planning. Although we have preposition routes in those areas,
Okay.
we are coming up with a plan for resupplying any relief requirements coming from those areas. It may be coming through a strategic airlift from Manila, Cebu, going to Kawayan, then taking military helicopters to bring in relief. But that is part of our contingency. We are still awaiting the developments given the level of preparedness already.
And sir, I understand then that even as you are preparing, you're also responding at the same time to small cases of assistance or help. What are the types of cases or requests for help that you receive dun po sa OCD?
Yes, at the response cluster level, we have made available to the public a facility wherein they can call in request for rescue. No, we all know a lot of communities have made their evacuations early, and but there are instances that there are requests for rescue.
Okay.
And those are the things that we are monitoring over the different modes. We're making use of the 911 of the ILG. We're also making use of the telephone numbers of OC.
Sir,
Aside from that, we're making available the hashtags
Yes.
for rescue, or hashtag rescue PH for needs for rescue, hashtag relief PH for request for relief resources, and also we're also capturing over the social media any incidents of flooding and landslide using the respective hashtag floods PH and hashtag landslide PH.
okay, sir, that's good. I think social media will really be a game changer
Yes.
when it comes to
And I
information
think,
sharing.
we encourage the public to be active netizens now by observing their environment and helping us monitor what's happening in their area.
Sir, let's briefly talk about, although maaga pa, evacuation centers and what they need. After a typhoon or after a disaster, the public is eager to help, but sometimes, with good intentions, they might not necessarily result in the most optimal resources. No? So can you give us an idea of what evacuation centers will be needing and how can the public provide this assistance and to augment the government's resources?
Okay. Our basic relief package consists of food. No? We're also providing ready-to-eat food and water. And traditionally, that has been the needs of victims that are taking shelter in evacuation centers. There's also needs for non-food items such as blankets and sleeping mats. But I want to inform you that we also made some prepositioning of those supplies, but in fact, it depends on the number of evacuees. There may be a surge of evacuees given this extent of the weather system of the typhoon.
And I know
Those are the most likely commodities that may be needed to add on the requirements of victims of evacuation.
And sir, I understand that DSWD is also making an appeal to ask for volunteers to help in the packing efforts?
Well, in fact, we're currently maintaining our National Resource Operations Center. Although, though it's mechanized already, as part of our contingency and advanced preparedness measures, we would like to double our capacities by also activating another repacking station. In fact, we're working with our partners in PDRF, and we've identified a repacking station in Clark. So that will be a redundancy as far as the repacking hubs are concerned. And the call for volunteers will that would be for the manual repacking of food packs for the victims.
And sir, this is actually a continuation of operations, I understand, from Typhoon Karen and even the preceding relief operations from the previous typhoon. How are your team members in the DSWD and general government responders? How are they coping with all these challenges, po?
Well, definitely, everyone in government has a single objective, especially in disaster response. Our main objective is really to save lives and to provide these services promptly. And in fact, we're here congregated in the Response Class Operations Center, closely monitoring what's happening. For your information, aside from the SWD, we're also joined here by our colleagues from the Department of Health, the Department of Education, the DPWH, the Office of Civil Defense, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police. That's for government. We're also joined here by our private sector partners from PTRF and also a host of civil society organizations. providing us with volunteer service. So when it comes to disaster response, I think the objective really is to give help, no,
Yes.
without being asked.
Mm-hmm.
That is really the intention of us here in disaster response.
I see, sir. And just as a last question, what would you say were the lessons that we've learned? Not just the government, but like you said, the private sector, the civil society have all come together. What were the lessons that we've learned from the previous typhoons, especially Typhoon Haiyan, that we're applying today?
Okay. One key lesson in disaster, what we've learned from Yolanda or Haiyan, is we really have to continually improve our mechanisms for coordination, no? Coordination in disaster response. And we have to engage not only within government, we have to also engage all stakeholders, no? From the government to the private sector to civil society, even the communities. Our Secretary of the SWD has expressly stated that we have to build the private, public, and community solidarity. And with this solidarity, we'll be able to be more effective in providing prompt response to the victims of this would-be disaster.
Okay, sir. Good luck. I know it's another sleepless night for you. Thank you very much for the service that your team is rendering, and we hope for the best.
Thanks, Jack, and para sa bayan to.
Okay. Maraming salamat, sir.
Okay.
Okay, that was Director Felino Castro of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Just to let you know that whenever we have a typhoon, the Rappler is deployed and has a few men or women stationed at the Office of Civil Defense. We assist by providing social media information to them gathered on the Agos Ibayanihan map. So personally, I've actually seen these people that we've been talking to at work, and it's a really long, possibly thankless job because they spend almost the whole day and the whole night just waiting and responding to calls for help. So to them and to the people at the OCD and all around who are preparing, we wish you the best and please keep safe, especially to the people from Rappler who are there at the OCD right now. We'll be talking to him in a few minutes. But let's move to the Agos alert map just to show you briefly if there are any changes. So if you click on refresh, again, this is agos.rappler.com. Maybe later on we can flash you the link. And we'll just show you a special layer that we've just added recently. So we're constantly updating this map. The layers that you can see are the flood-prone areas and landslide areas, of course, and the storm surge, which we showed you earlier. We'd like to show you the evacuation centers sourced from the Department of Social Welfare and Development. These are centers, usually are schools or community centers. And if you click on any of the links here, the ones in blue, the placeholders, let me just try to zoom in. You'll see the number of people that it can accommodate, the location or the name, and whether it's open or active. So this will help responders, of course, know where to send people if they need to evacuate and what kind of relief that they need. So if you actually have information on an evacuation center, if you are a local government official that's listening now, if you are a civic society organization, a church group, or a school principal that knows that your school is being used as an evacuation center, you can email us at move.ph@rappler.com or tag us on social media and to let us know that you have an evacuation center that is in need of any help. We can post it on this Agos alert map so that the public may know and hopefully we'll be able to send help. So now let's move on to our next phone patch. We'd like to talk to Mike Padua. He is a meteorologist from the Weather Philippines Foundation, or he's the chief senior scientist at WPF, or the Weather Philippines Foundation. Sir Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, sir. Thank you very much for joining us so late at night. I'm sure you're busy monitoring the typhoon from where you are in Naga, no?
I'm up until 3 a.m.
Sir, please go ahead. Tell us what's the status po of Lawin or Haima.
Haima right now is approaching the coast of northeastern Isabela, and the eye has became deteriorated for the past few hours. So it's possibility that the super typhoon status might be downgraded, but these are only estimate. based on what we see for the past few hours. The reason behind that is because the circulation has started to interact with the mountains of Sierra Madre, and it's common on typhoons making landfall over that area. And weather station in Ilagan City, Isabela, are now reporting wind gusts of 119 kilometers per hour. So it's really a quite strong one, since the distance from Ilagan City is still some more than 100 kilometers away. So just imagine the intensity of the winds once it passes just north of Ilagan City.
So sir, kahit medyo hihina ng konti yung bagyo, malakas pa rin po siya.
Malakas pa rin kasi as of kanina, nasa 250 kilometers per hour siya. Before we go on, kanina mga 5 p.m. nasa 235 na lang siya. So if ever humina siya in the next few hours, it's still around 200 kph.
Which means, sir, in practical terms, what does 200 kph feel like?
Well, 200 kilometers per hour is like really very disastrous when it comes to the destruction of many houses. It's really major damage. We are speaking here because the wind that I'm referring to is a 10-minute average. If we refer to a 1-minute average, that will be around 240, because that's the value of Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Their sustained winds is on the 1-minute average. So it's really comparable to the National Hurricane Center. They uses 1-minute average in determining the speed. So we're using 10-minute average. So for 235, it's quite a little bit higher already in the terms of 10-minute average.
Sir, can we talk about the speed of the typhoon and how that will impact on the ground? No?
The good news of this storm is it's a fast-moving. Although Yolanda is around 35 to 40, this system is around 26 to 30 kph. With that kind of speed, it will quickly cross northern Luzon, and it will not have more time over land. So that means the effects of the rain will not be for the next 24 hours, or will be for the next... the heavy rain, I'm referring to the impact closer to the eye, will just be quick, because at 8 a.m. tomorrow, it will be already off the West Philippine Sea. So that's the difference. When we have a fast-moving system, the duration of the rainfall will be not long enough compared to tropical cyclones or typhoons, which is very slow, and it could trigger massive flooding, just like in the past.
What about Yes, sir. What about the diameter, no? Yung laki niya, yung haba niya or laki niya? Is that any factor of of increased rain? Will that bring more rain and further down south?
Actually, here in Bicol, we are under the outer circulation, but we don't have any rainfall since this morning. So the rainfall are just concentrated near the if the diameter is 800 kilometers, I mean, we are referring to the radius. If it's 400 kilometers, the most of the rainfall are concentrated along within the 200 to 300 kilometer radius. So I believe that the system has more rainfall near the center compared along its periphery. Although in some areas we still have detailed rainfall we've seen so far in the weather stations across the Philippines through our automated weather station. So if Lawin continues to move at this fast phase, the possibility of major flooding event in Luzon will not push to. It's just a few floods and close to the center of the storm.
Sir, would you say that Typhoon Lawin is a rare typhoon? No? I mean, compared to the other typhoons that normally hit the Philippines and at that particular region. Some people have been comparing it to Typhoon Haiyan. Others have been comparing it to a typhoon that happened, I think, several years back in the same area or the same vicinity. What kind of phenomenon are we seeing now? And will we see more of this kind of super typhoons in the future?
Actually, ever since I started observing storms, since I was 5 years old, way back in 1978, this is a common ground of landfalling typhoons. Some of them are minimal, some of them are super typhoons hitting this area, Isabela, Cagayan. I remember way back in 1987, we have two back-to-back super typhoons hitting Isabela and Cagayan also. And also one of the famous one, we have Iliang in 1998, just right after a strong El Nino also in 1997. Iliang that's why we put on the updates of Weather Philippines. Important note, this is comparable with Super Typhoon Iliang, Zeb, is the international name, way back in October 14, 1998, because it has the same size and the same strength as and the same path and track as it makes landfall there in that area of extreme northern Luzon.
So nothing out of the usual, but...
Yep, that's nothing out of the usual.
Does El Nino or La Nina have any impact, sir, on the strength or the...
Usually, as of now, we don't have the latest on La Nina. It will not push through, although there will be some very light, but we are still within the normal range. If we are under normal range, the average number of super typhoons are still playing between 3 to 4 to 5 annually when we have normal or neutral climate conditions without any El Nino, La Nina. When we have a strong La Nina, our number of super typhoons will go down to 0 up to only 1 in the Western Pacific. While during El Nino, it's the other way around. We have a maximum up to 11 super typhoons, because the reason of that, during El Nino, typhoons form far away between Guam and Hawaii, most of the tropical cyclones. And during La Nina, a strong La Nina, most of the typhoons form very close to the Philippines, so it has less time to develop because it's close to the land. It won't intensify into super typhoon. But on a normal climate like this one, they form south of Guam, and that's very dangerous at this time of the year.
I see. So we should watch out for those kinds of tropical depressions.
Especially November.
Right.
Here in Bicol, the last time we have a super typhoon was Reming in 2006, which killed 1,000 people during mud flows in Albay. So it's merely 10 years since then. Usually the longest super typhoon absence here in Bicol region happened in 1970 after Super Typhoon Sening. The next super typhoon that passed here was Super Typhoon Anding, that was in 1981, or 11 years later. So we see this as a kind of frequency. Here in Bicol, we have every 6 to 10 years of repeated passage of a super typhoon. So I still don't see any changes when it comes to the global warming we are experiencing right now for the whole planet. But one thing I can assure that the heat of the planet helps this system they quickly intensify fast. That's the big scary thing. If you noticed Super Typhoon Karen, it intensified rapidly when she left the coast of Bicol from 130. It intensified to 200 kilometers per hour. That's why our weather station in Baler recorded the peak wind gust of 198 kilometers per hour. Only that area. It's really scary. We have small storms so close to the Philippines, then intensifies quickly. So maybe this is the cause of what we are experiencing right now, climate change.
So, sir, within the next few hours and tomorrow, what will you be watching out for? What should the public be watching out for in terms of the developments of Typhoon Haima?
Well, we advise the public to remain indoors since this storm will be giving away strong winds, and those living in the coastal areas from the coastline of Pagudpud down to the coastline of eastern Isabela must watch out of this storm surge. Although after the day, tomorrow afternoon, the storm will be moving away from the Philippine area responsibility. some areas of Ilocos region, the western coast, will still experience a little bit of a storm surge. So it depends on the strength of this typhoon. But rest assured, these mountain regions in extreme northern Luzon will be a big help of this weakening the system. As we have witnessed right now, the system is, if it rapidly intensified for the past 24 hours, right now it started to weaken because it already had interaction with the mountains of Cordillera and the mountains particularly of the Sierra Madre.
Yeah, but still a cause for concern nonetheless.
Yeah, especially the range along the path, very close to the eye.
Yeah. Just one last question. We're talking about rains that could induce landslides. Have we been seeing the sort of rains in the past few days that would saturate the soil in these areas?
That will really have a problem in some areas, especially we have the past storm.
Yes,
Karen. So we advise those living, especially along the mountainous regions in CAR and the Sierra Madre, to be on the lookout or be prepared. Actually, if you're under the landslide-prone areas, you must evacuate because of this situation.
I see, sir. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike Padua of Weather Philippines Foundation. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Zach.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. So we've gotten reports from about 3 different weather, well, not all of them are professionals, but nevertheless, they provide pretty accurate information. And what we're seeing is that the typhoon, although it's very strong, will weaken slightly or is weakening slightly before hitting land, and it will weaken further, but still be a very strong typhoon at around 200 kilometers of winds with about gustiness around 240. So if you can imagine 200 kilometers per hour winds, that's pretty much a sports car ramming through you, an invisible sports car. So there. We already have, I'd like to announce certain announcements in preparation for tomorrow's typhoon as it traverses Luzon. Flight cancellations. I have a list here. Let me just read briefly, quickly. Mostly domestic flights from Manila to Davao. This is Cebu Pacific. Manila to Tuguegarao, Manila. Obviously, this is today and tomorrow. Most flights to Tuguegarao have been canceled. Most flights to Basco, or all flights to Basco and Lawag, have also been canceled. In fact, we were supposed to send a team to Lawag this afternoon, but the flights were already canceled, so it's not safe to fly. We have reports of bridges that were closed in Alicaucao in Kawayan City, in Gukab and Anafunan in Ituage, Santa Maria and Santa Maria Town. Bridge in Santo Tomas has been closed or is closed. Pigalo in Agandanan Town and Bacolod in City of Ilagan. So if you have any reports of damaged roads or bridges closed, please report it on Twitter. Use hashtag LAWINPH or hashtag RoadWatch. Okay. Now we'd like to go to the Secretary of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, Secretary Judy Tagiwalo. Ma'am, are you there? Yes. Yes, hello ma'am. This is Zach Yuson of Rappler. Thank you very much po for joining us. I know you're very busy. But can you give us please your current status of the preparations for Typhoon Haima? Hello ma'am? Yes. Ma'am, how are the preparations ongoing for Typhoon Lawin? Okay, ma'am, can you hear me? Yes, I think it's a... Yes, hello. It's a bit choppy.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am, but it's a bit choppy.
Hello?
Yes, we'll try to give you a call back just so that we can fix the communication line. That was...
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll call you back po. Yeah, okay. Earlier we were talking to Director Castro of DSWD who said that they're busy right now preparing a meeting in terms of planning. They already set the wheels in motion for relief operations, but they're already planning for contingencies in case they need more relief goods in certain areas that are very hard to reach. So if you look at the map, I'll just quickly show you a map where you have areas in northern Luzon that are surrounded by the Sierra Madre or blocked off by the Sierra Madre, such as Palanan in Isabela, Divilacan and Maconacon in Isabela. These are areas that are very hard to reach, and sometimes you can only reach them via boat or via plane. Yeah, okay. All right, so just to let you know, again, we're monitoring Typhoon Lawin online on social media, and we need volunteers if you would like to volunteer to help us monitor the reports, especially in the coming hours when the typhoon makes landfall. Please do send us a message at rappler.com or at MovePH, that's for Twitter and Facebook, or you can email us move.ph@rappler.com. Okay, now we go to our reporter on the ground. He's in Tuguegarao, Raymond Duliana. Raymond, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, hi Raymond. Okay, what's the mood there? What's happening there right now?
Zach, although the typhoon has yet to make its landfall here in Cagayan Isabela area, heavy rains have started to be felt here in Tuguegarao City. In fact, since 7 p.m., the winds are persistent. The windows of our hotel seems it could not hold off the pressure of the wind. Zach, thousands of families have been evacuated to safer grounds. Evacuation efforts have started as early as in the morning. In Tuguegarao, there are 3,092 families so far in Solana, also in the neighboring towns in Solana, in Amulong, Alcala, Bugay, in Enrile, and we also talked to Mayor Marilyn Pentecostes via phone. She's the mayor of Gonzaga Town. She said more than 2,000 families are now staying in the municipal gymnasium. According to Mayor Pentecostes, most of the residents are from the coastal villages which are now being threatened by ice storms here, just like of what happened in Tacloban City during the Typhoon Yolanda. So for us, 5 p.m. according to the provincial government of Cagayan, there are about 12,000 individuals evacuated, excluding the more than 2,000 families. So, told to us by Mayor Marilyn Pentecostes. Most of these evacuees are from low-lying areas that are being threatened by flash floods due to swollen rivers. Kahapon pa mataas yung tubig, and they are expecting it to rise even more overnight Friday. The provincial government is requesting those who have safer and stronger houses to offer their homes to those whose houses are vulnerable for great damage. The total evacuation was also was implemented in the low-lying areas. The supply of power has been cut already since 5 p.m., but Governor Mamba said the radio stations will be operational for 24 hours, and emergency response teams are ready for deployment. Zach, we really don't know how strong this is going to be for us, but the local weather agency here said this isn't an ordinary typhoon that we could just shrug off, and in fact, we are considering this the strongest typhoon to ever hit the province.
Yeah, so Raymond, go ahead.
Yes.
No, go ahead.
This is super typhoon and this signal number 5, and for sure many of the residents will not have a good sleep tonight.
Right. What is the mood there? How are people reacting to the news that it will be the strongest typhoon?
Zach, a while ago we also had we also bought our groceries. The people are panic buying. The lines in groceries are so long you could wait for hours. The evacuees have most officials said the evacuees have volunteered to evacuate because they are being informed that this could be as strong as Yolanda. And now that there are no people in the streets, it seems like people have. It seems like this is a ghost town. People have been staying in their houses, and most people also have checked in. Actually, most of the hotels here are almost full, as you can see. I've been looking for a hotel a while ago, and most of them are full.
Okay. Raymond, you sent us a video earlier. You posted it on Twitter. Medyo madilim. Can you tell us what you took in this video? We're playing it right now.
I took that video inside my hotel room because the power has been cut, so there will be no image that could be shown there.
Yeah.
Sobrang lakas ng hangin at yung yung window namin parang magigiba na at maririnig mo talaga yung pag-ikot ng hangin kahit wala pa dito yung sentro ng bagyo. Talagang mararamdaman mo yung lakas ng hangin kasi parang magigiba na yung window.
So nararamdaman niyo na yung hangin. Nasaan na kayo ngayon? And are you safe? I mean, do you feel safe?
Right now, we feel safe, Zach, because we are in a big hotel. Kapag bibigay talaga yung window or we have no option but to go out of the room, we are expecting for the worst.
Tell us what you see right now and where you are. Are you in the ground floor? Are you surrounded? Are you with anyone?
I'm in the ground floor, Zach. I am with the hotel staff here. We've been monitoring the typhoon also, and right now, as late as now, there are people who are checking in the hotel, and they said that because they didn't expect that this is a strong typhoon, and actually one of them I just talked to one of them, and she said that they are seeing already the waters in the road, and they are afraid it could reach to their houses. So they just let their things there in the house and just check in the hotel.
Is your hotel in a relatively higher place? I mean, I don't know how Tuguegarao is prone to flooding, but are you safe from flooding?
Yes, Tuguegarao is prone to flooding because we are surrounded by the Cagayan River.
Okay.
But my position right now is in a higher ground compared to the other villages. My area is actually safe because it has never been flooded, unlike the other villages.
Let's go to talk about the coastal communities in Cagayan. No? I'm assuming they've evacuated.
Yes, Zach, most of them in Bugay, in Apari, Gonzaga, and Santa Ana towns. These have fled their homes and are now on the evacuation centers. We just talked to Gonzaga Mayor Pentecostes a minute ago, and she said they are staying overnight with the evacuees to monitor the situations. And right now we are actually receiving more and more reports of evacuations. And the 12,000 individuals I mentioned a while ago is not yet the final report because there are still towns that didn't submit their report to the provincial capital. So it could just double because the towns of Gonzaga, Santa Teresita, and Santa Ana has not been mentioned in the list. So we are really expecting that it could reach higher.
And Raymond, ano yung assessment mo naman sa response or preparations ng local governments and yung authorities doon?
Actually, Zach, they started on Karen. The local government units here in Cagayan and Isabela have been preparing for Karen, and I think it's just na-prolong lang yung efforts ng disaster team. So they are yung mga disaster teams in Cagayan. There are 4 stations. In Isabela. They've deployed a dozen of rescue teams. And Governor Mamba said anytime they are called for rescue, they are ready. The relief goods, in fact, in Isabela, 30,000 packs have been prepositioned already. Also in Cagayan, the prepositioned yesterday, they prepositioned relief goods from strategic locations, which they said that they could be hardly hit by Typhoon Lawin.
Right. See, I understand. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This is Governor Mamba's. He was really recently elected. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So this is his first typhoon as a governor or as a local official. Is that correct?
Yes. This actually, I think it was Typhoon. I don't know, earlier before the one that hit Batanes area, but this
Yeah.
could be the major typhoon that Governor Mamba
Yes.
is about to face.
So, how has he been able to, I guess, to get familiar with what the process is? He has to mobilize so many people. You earlier said that he's been ordering preparations ever since
Yes.
Typhoon Karen. No, has he expressed any concern, or did he seem nervous or anxious in any way about the coming typhoon?
Zach, Governor Mamba, even before the task force Lingkod Cagayan, it is a task force that in charge for disasters, for rescue operations, and I think this is the center of operation. This is the center team for operation of during disaster. So from the very first time, it was formed to respond to disasters.
So Raymond, as we know, and as you probably know already, Tuguegarao seems to be in the direct path of Typhoon Lawin, and although the winds, according to forecasters, will decrease slightly, it will still be around 200 to 220 kilometers per hour. I want to know, like personally, how are you preparing, and what are you prepared to do? Are you prepared to evacuate in case anything, gets damaged in your hotel?
Yes, we are coordinating with the government agencies in case na ma-damage itong hotel, and we will go to evacuation centers kapag anything bad will happen.
Okay, but best muna to stay indoors and keep safe. Charge your phones obviously, and hopefully we can contact you much later when the winds pick up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ingat po doon. Thank you,
Salamat.
Raymond.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. That was Raymond Duliana, our reporter and contributor, reporting from Tuguegarao, Cagayan. And earlier, Raymond was talking to me and saying that the power was out as early as 4 or 5 p.m. So I hope he has enough power to keep on using his cell phone so that he can record what's happening there for us. And we also have a team on its way to Cagayan at the moment, and hopefully they reach Cagayan safely. We're going to be talking later again with Secretary Taguiwalo of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. But let's look quickly at what Facebook is showing us. When we Google hashtag LAWINPH, as you can see, people are already tweeting or posting that if they feel the wind, they feel the typhoon. They're asking for sources of where it says that there's no school. Because some people don't rely, I guess they don't know where the sources are coming from. Yeah. And Margie, a lot of prayers. So there seems to be this meme that's going around praying for the typhoon.
Well, that is pretty common for any disaster that's approaching or happening at the current time. Because we're a religious country, technically. And also on Twitter, I've also noticed that a lot of people are talking about the wind.
Okay.
Especially people up north, of course.
Okay.
Like there's this one particular guy in Napari who was tweeting like he was really going nuts about it because it was really scary. And I also noticed some people chastising other Twitter people for talking too much about whether they're going to school or to work or not.
Okay.
And reminding people that there are actually fellow Filipinos in danger right now, and that we should reassess our priorities in terms of what to talk about on social media.
So do you think that on social media, when it comes time to disaster, there's a certain etiquette to follow or a certain norm that people have to adhere by?
Well, definitely nothing strict.
Okay.
But it would be a bit conscientious.
Yeah, out of
courtesy, out of delicadeza, I guess.
I see.
That you don't talk about like, whoa, I don't have a test tomorrow, while other people are afraid for their lives.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
It's interesting that there are still people tweeting. Usually when there's a typhoon this strong, the communication lines are the first to go down.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we get good information from that area, although we don't expect that much information to come out of Cagayan.
Yeah, I distinctly remember Yolanda. I was monitoring the social media feeds, and it was blackout.
Yeah, we didn't know anything for a few days, right?
Definitely. So I hope this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and well, I mean, from experience, we noticed that the first thing, aside from food and the shelter, the first thing that people are looking for is really information, like what is the status of their loved ones, you know, what's damaged, how can they help, how can they even go to an area if they don't know whether they can go inside an area, like in Tacloban.
Yeah, so save your batteries.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that briefly. What would you do if you were in a typhoon zone, if you were in Tuguegarao right now?
Right, if I knew if there was a coming super typhoon,
yeah.
I would collect all my possible battery sources. I think that was the first thing that I would think of because I need my equipment as not just for my job. I mean, it's something that I need in order to communicate properly to everybody.
Yeah.
The first step really is to inform your loved ones.
Of course.
So without any batteries, and of course food and shelter, of course, are also important.
Yeah. Do you want to let me flash what's on my screen now, because people have been asking us, what about when the internet goes down, when there's no Wi-Fi or internet? And if we look at our screen, can we flash my screen? There's actually a way to report. So Margie, do you want to invite the public to report?
Okay, so in case you don't have any internet anymore, you can also text. For Smart and Sun subscribers, you can text 2929 and use hashtags FlugPH and RescuePH. Or for Globe subscribers, you can text 0995 537 1024.
Yeah, and these messages will go to our Agos volunteers, who will hopefully be able to respond to your request for help or your call for information. Okay, so I understand we're still trying to contact Secretary Taguiwalo. Let's see now where the typhoon tracking is now. So again, we pull up on the Agos map, and if you can see here, the points in blue is the actual position as of 2 p.m. So this is directly from Pag-asa, and I think they haven't sent an update yet because they usually send it out at 11 p.m. and at 5 a.m. So we expect the next update to be at 11 p.m. But let's go to another website called Windy TV. Windy TV will show you the current wind status and, you know, pretty accurate depiction of where the typhoon is. So let's pull that up, and as we load Windy TV, we can also show you the speed of the wind at the given point. So in this case, Windy TV is saying that the eye of the typhoon seems to be hovering actually over land. So this might not be entirely accurate. But if we click on any of these areas here, we can see that the wind is forecast at around 135 kilometers per hour. So interestingly enough, this typhoon is big, it's massive. At 800 kilometers, according to Dr. MAHAR LAGMAY, it's half or almost the size of the Philippines if it were to strike at the center. So right now we're experiencing, or at least in northern Luzon, they're experiencing heavy winds and rains in this area in Tuguegarao over here, if you can see my mouse pointer. And that's going to intensify over the next few hours. The typhoon is expected to make landfall anytime within the next 3 or 4 hours. So we need to watch out. Okay, now going to Secretary Judy Taguiwalo of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Ma'am, again, this is Zach Yuson po from Rappler. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening po. Ma'am, alam ko, you've been very, very busy and very active in preparations. Pero ano po yung sentiment niyo po? How do you feel right now with regards to the preparations for the typhoon?
I think in terms of the preparation, we have prepared as much as we could, given the advance notice that we got that Lawin will be a super typhoon. Okay? So we have prepositioned the goods ahead of time. All our regional offices are on red alert since last Friday. We sent a team from the central office to Region 2, where the landfall is expected to happen tonight. So, but of course, because it's a typhoon, we still expect the unexpected. So what is important, I think, is the preparation of all the members of the response cluster of the DRRM, as well as the cooperation of the citizens.
Ma'am, ano po yung pinakamahalaga na dapat gawin po ngayon ng mga communities, no? Kasi alam po natin na syempre hindi naman makaka-respond kaagad yung mga national disaster agencies, lalo na din yung mga local agencies. They cannot respond to all queries of help. So ano pong dapat gawin ng communities habang maaga pa?
Actually, na ngayon maaga eh.
Actually, oo nga po. Ilang oras na rin po.
Malakas na ngayon sa Tugigaraw, di ba? Lakas ng hangin, wala ng power. So it's there already, although hindi pa nag-landfall. No? I'm in contact with our field office, regional director there, and our members. So talagang wala ng power, sobrang lakas ng hangin. Naglagay na sila ng plywood because they're staying in the office. No? So, ang one naman ay naka-ready na, no? Nag-meeting na kanina ng DRRM ng Cagayan. Nag-monitor sila ngayon sa ngayon ang mga kwan ay hindi dumaan, no? Sa Makunakon ang tracking ng Lawin sa kanila, Makunakon at Sibilakan, mga coastal areas ng Isabela. So hindi siya maglalandfall sa Tugigaraw at Silagan. Hindi nakalayan sa Cagayan, nag-change na. Pero sabi ng regional na kapag preposition naman tayo at readily available pa sa field office ng augmentation. So may nagbago ang path ng Lawin sa ibang area, pero may nag-preposition din tayo na goods doon.
Paano ma'am pag kailangan po ng dagdag na relief goods or services po doon? Sa mga remote areas na to?
I-move natin talaga yan kung kailangan pa, pero advanced na tayo. Ngayon, it will depend on yung accessibility ng mga roads, di ba?
Opo.
Okay. O kaya naman, later on, di ba? Kasi kasama naman natin dito ang AFP, and then have the aerial equipment, di ba? May mga helicopter sila. Eventually, we need, no? This was what happened in Batanes. Talagang laking tulog ng C-130 ng Philippine Air Force para madala natin doon ang mga goods.
Ma'am, syempre after a typhoon, maraming gustong tumulong, magbigay ng relief goods, mag-volunteer. Ano po yung payo nyo po for these people or these communities that want to help? And ano pong kailangan ng DSWD na tulong?
Nagpapasalamat tayo sa mga mamamayan na tumulong. So far naman, okay pang supply natin. I think we learned the lesson of Yolanda na kailangan nakahandang pamahalaan sa pag-provide ng relief goods. No? So, ang hindi natin ay tulungan din ng ibang mga NGOs, no? na tumutulong din sa relief and rehabilitation. Ang usapan na kagabi ng mga personnel, yung mga volunteers na kailangan natin ay actually sa distribution na ng relief goods. Sa repacking, kasi tuloy-tuloy ang repacking natin ngayon sa ating National Resource of Direction Office, dito sa Maynila. Tuloy-tuloy naman yun at sapat na ang ating personnel doon. Dahil nga may service na.
Pero ma'am, si President Duterte po, I understand, nasa China po ngayon. Meron po ba siyang directive or instructions po sa inyo regarding preparations and response for Typhoon Haima?
Standing naman yan. Standing naman yung instruction niya sa amin, sa kabinete, since the first cabinet meeting in the evening of June 30, no, after hour of taking, na kailangan maagap ang tulong sa mamamayan, sapat ito, at hindi makukulayan ng politika. Tiyak na makarating ito sa mga taong nangangailangan at huwag pumasok ang anumang pagkukulay nito ng politika. Those are the marching orders.
So paano po yun gagawin po na hindi papasok ng politika dito sa relief operations? Siyempre may mga ibang politicians na naglalagay po ng pangalan nila or ng image po nila sa mga relief operations.
Siyempre, hindi na atin yan, no? DSWD na ito. So DSWD, ang distribution nito ay nakapatay naman doon sa local government units, mga elected na officials natin. Idadaan natin ito, may mga personnel naman tayo doon, no? At alam naman ng mga mamayan yan, kung may mag-i-epal doon, hindi na alam, sa labas na natin yan. Pero hopefully, alam naman ng mga tao ngayon, lalo na ng mga opisyal, na yung gusto natin ng pagbabago. At ang basic yan, sa panahon ng kalamidad, we need to come together. We need to help each other. At hindi dapat selective sa pagbibigay ng tulong.
Opo, oo. Ma'am, may mensahe po ba kayo sa mga tao na nanonood po ngayon at mga communities po na nakikinig po ngayon po?
Ang pangunahing mensahe ko talaga para doon sa mga tauhan sa field, ang mga personnel ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, nakabahagi ng DRRM Council, ang ating mga taga-DOH, ang ating taga-DepEd, ang ating taga-OCD, local government units, mga private, mga NGOs din katulad ng Caritas, ang Red Cross, ang FPP&P, at ang mga local government units natin na halos isang linggo na yan na tuloy-tuloy ang pag-monitor at pagbibigay ng tulong. Mataas ang aming pagpapahalaga sa inyo, saludo kami, tuloy-tuloy natin pagtulungan ito. Sa mga mamamayan po, tulungan natin ang ating mga kababayan, magpadala tayo ng immediate information na kailangan, whether by text, 911, o kaya yun nga yung ating mga hashtag na hashtag LAWINPH, hashtag ReliefPH, hashtag RescuePH. Malakas ang pagyong ito, kaya kailangan palakasin natin ang ating pagkakaisa at tulungan.
Okay po, ma'am. Maraming salamat po at mag-ingat din po kayo. Best of luck po sa inyong gagawin po mamaya.
Thank you din.
Okay. Yan po si Secretary Judy Tagiwalo ng Department of Social Welfare and Development. Now, we'll just show you quickly on my laptop a picture sent by Raymond Duliana. Thousands of residents evacuate in Gonzaga, Cagayan. This was taken much earlier, as you can see, kasi medyo maaga pa, may ilaw pa. But this is an evacuation center that contains literally thousands of people. And I think, according to Raymond, mas marami pa, dadagdagan pa kasi yung ibang communities na galing sa coastal communities hindi pa nag-evacuate at that time. So, dadami pa yun sa evacuation centers. Hopefully, it will not be too crowded and there's enough food and shelter for everyone. Now, let's go quickly to our social media feeds. Again, very, very active dito po sa hashtag LAWINPH. But we're also monitoring, just for the information of everyone, Flood PH, Relief PH, and Rescue PH. So please only use Rescue PH when you need help or when you need assistance. Please do not just tweet Rescue PH because that already triggers a lot of people to pay more attention when it's Rescue PH. I'd like to show another video. This one was taken earlier in Apari, Cagayan. As you can see, this is courtesy of Clark Tonggol. This is the Cagayan River, and it is already at the overflow point, or very, very high. This was earlier, so no rain yet, just winds, and this is expected to climb even higher. That is courtesy of Clark Tonggol. Thank you very much. Please send us your videos and photos to @MovePH or @Rappler.com, and please tag hashtag LAWINPH or hashtag MovePH. Okay. Now, I'd like to take you to our reporter, instant reporter slash videographer, Adrian Portugal, who was on his way to Cagayan but was not able to reach Cagayan due to the weather. He's now, I understand, in Isabela. Is that correct, Porch? Porch. Adrian? Yes, hello. Can you hear me? Okay, we'll just, hello. Okay, we'll just call you back. That was Adrian Portugal. Okay, so let's go back to our Twitter feed. And again, we'll show you this video again. This is from Cagayan in Apari, literally one of the northmost points of Luzon. And as you know, in Apari, it's very, very flat. And so if rains were to come in here, we would probably see increased flooding and higher flooding. This is courtesy of Clark Tonggol. Let's fast forward. Heavy winds. This was taken as much earlier, around 3 hours ago. So this is the calm before the storm. Okay. Okay, let's go again to our production specialist, Adrian Portugal. Adrian, are you there?
Hi, Doc.
Hi. How are you?
We're currently here at Jamo Isabela. The winds are really strong.
Okay, and I understand that's preventing you from traveling further. Is there any reason why you cannot proceed to Cagayan?
The highway, parts of the highways are already blocked with fallen trees.
Okay.
And aside from that, the winds are already really strong.
Okay.
And the visibility is also really low.
I see. Adrian, are you safe there? Is there a place where you can be safe? Hello, Adrian. Yeah. Where are you right now? Are you in a safe area?
Yeah, we're currently in the hotel in Gamo. It's pretty safe. But the front doors the glass are already shattered. Some of the windows are shattered.
Okay. And in that area, even if you're not in the center of the storm, it's going to be experiencing about 220 kilometers per hour. Can you describe what you're seeing or what you saw on the way to where you are now?
We can barely see anything because of the strong rain. The visibility was really low. And most of the towns on the way here had no electricity.
Okay.
And besides that, just the fallen trees of the highway.
Adrian, nakausap mo ba yung mga tao doon? Ano ba yung mood doon? Natatakot ba sila? Kinakabahan? Ano yung mood ng mga tao doon?
Actually, everyone is already indoors. If you go out, wala ka nang makikita tao dito.
So parang ghost
It's
town.
either they're in the evacuation center already or they're already indoors.
I see. Okay. How strong are the winds? Paki-describe lang yung strength ng wind.
Basically, the rain. Outside our hotel, you can see the roofs of some of the houses are already out, yung mga yero.
Okay.
Nililipat na sila sa kalsada. Tsaka yung mga tulog, halos naputol na.
Okay. May nakita ka bang mga disaster responders, police, or firemen na umiikot-ikot?
I actually, where the part na may trees that are blocking the road, they're either police or firemen.
Meron ba kayong mga kasabay ng mga news teams or ibang teams na responders?
Actually, in the hotel, andito rin yung mga TV networks. Naka-standby for the hotel.
So currently, yung highway from, yung main highway, National Highway to Cagayan ay impassable to all vehicles. Is that what you're saying?
It's passable to cars pa naman. I'm not too sure now, pero about an hour ago, it was still passable.
It was still passable. But right now, wala namang kotse na dumadaan. Wala namang vehicles na dumadaan, no?
Wala na dumadaan.
Okay. Meron ba kayong evacuation area kung sakaling mas lalong lumakas yung wind doon sa hotel niyo or sa area niyo?
Actually, where one of the evacuations are, just a couple of minutes away na.
Okay. So medyo...
So,
sorry, pakiulit. Is it safe to stay there even with high winds?
Yeah, it's safe naman here. I don't think it's safe
to move. That's correct. Sige. And ano yung plano nyo? Do you still plan to proceed to Cagayan or will you just stay in that area given until tomorrow maybe?
As soon as it's safe, we're gonna proceed to Cagayan.
Okay, great. Okay, Adrian, stay safe. Of course, stay dry. Please send us any reports that you can. Ingat ka dun.
Thank you, Zach.
Okay. That was Adrian Portugal, or as we like to call him here, Porch, reporting from, I understand, Isabela. Gapus in Isabela. Is that correct? Yes, okay. So we'll get an update from him later on during the day. But he was reporting, if you didn't hear, he was reporting that he was on his way to Cagayan, to Gigarao, to meet up with Raymond Duliana, our reporter, when his vehicle had encountered some roadblocks. I think there were trees that were fallen over, toppled, and the wind was very, very strong, so they had to stay in a hotel. But even in the hotel that they were staying in, the glass doors are already broken, the windows are broken, and the wind is still very strong. So it's about an hour away from Tuguegarao. So if you can imagine, that's the report in Gapus, how much stronger it will be in Tuguegarao. Gamus, Gamu. Okay, thank you very much. All right. So we have reports coming in from social media from Jehanna Jukipli. Safe pa rin ba na travel tomorrow by airplane from Mindanao to Manila? From Jehanna, it's probably best to check the specific airline that you're taking, but from what we understand, certain flights have already been canceled from Davao to Manila and of course to Tuguegarao. So not all flights from Mindanao might be flying to Manila, and probably for the next few hours or so, for the next 12 hours or so, it might not be possible for domestic flights to fly into Manila because of the size of the typhoon. Are there any other reports that you're receiving or any interesting tweets?
Well, social media is currently celebrating right now for...
Oh, is it still Kathniel?
No. Ginebra won.
Oh, Ginebra won. So Ginebra was number 2 kanina, now it's number 1.
Yes, so congrats to Ginebra fans.
Congratulations to Ginebra fans. But this actually brings a point up, and this is what was talked about, mentioned by Case Weather and More. She's a Facebook account that publishes weather information as well. She was saying that just because the typhoon is not going to directly hit Manila or affect Manila in any way, all of a sudden there's no interest by Metro Manilans or by mainstream media. Would you say that's fair? An assessment?
I think a lot of Metro Manilans are still tweeting like on social media, just like the usual stay safe, the usual thoughts and prayers. But they do have their priorities in other things, I believe. Like for example, right now, hashtag LAWINPH is no longer trending at all on Twitter.
At all?
At all.
At all,
At
okay.
all. So it's dropped out of the radar.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and people right now are just tweeting about the Ginebra win.
Okay.
So it's really easy for people to be distracted, I think. But I believe that probably later on into the night, when things get a little bit more serious, maybe minds will be changed. But yes, it does seem like since we're a very regional country, most people do express concern more often if they're actually directly affected,
right.
And that's
or after the fact when it's
right,
over.
and that's honestly a shame because even if you are far away, you can still provide help.
Right.
By providing information.
Well, not to take away from the Ginebra fans and the basketball fans out there, but they can still celebrate while thinking about fellow Filipinos who are affected by this typhoon up north. And of course, I'm sure likewise if we had a typhoon down here. So, again, we appeal to the public. You can go on social media to report information because that will get mapped, that will be alerted and transferred and reported to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council and the Office of Civil Defense. Kung mag-report po kayo sa social media, darating pa yun sa kinaukulang tao na dapat mag-responde, whether local or national. And hopefully, together, we can save lives. So again, just to repeat, Margie, what are the hashtags to use for social media?
Mainly, of course, hashtag LAWINPH, hashtag ReliefPH for requirements of relief goods, hashtag RescuePH if you are in need of rescuing, that's very, very strict, and hashtag FloodPH if there is an impending or current flood in your area.
Yes, and if you want to if you want to text on SMS, that's 2929 for Smart and Sun subscribers. And let me just try to pull up the Globe numbers here. Yes, it's 0995-537-1024 for Globe and Talk and Text. Okay. So we will continue to monitor social media and of course all forms of media to bring you the latest updates on Rappler. Let me just show you the live blog on Rappler. This is updated constantly. These are the live updates of Super Typhoon Lawin, and here you'll be able to see the specific updates as curated by our Rappler reporters and editors. This is on Rappler.com, and we will continue to provide you with live coverage up until tomorrow. Please stick with us on Rappler.com. From time to time, we may be showing you live video as well. If you follow at Rappler.com, and of course our civic engagement arm at MovePH. At this point, we will end our live broadcast and live special coverage, but we will continue online through our live blog. Thank you for staying with us. Please be safe and be careful. Let's all be prepared for the next disaster that may strike. And always, let's aim for #0casualty. I'm Zach Yuson, joined by Margie De Leon. Thank you for watching.